It's getting overcast and it's probably going to rain here on me pretty soon, but maybe it's not as bright and the camera might work up here. Okay, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to do. The very first thing, you see these brackets here with these screws, okay? And that's the only way that this got attached. See, they have gutters without the flange on there. This is called a flangeless 4-inch OG gutter, okay? Years ago, when I was in construction, when I first started out, when I was just a teenager, they didn't have, well, I guess they did have flangeless, but most of them had a flange right here. And then when before you install a roof, you know, from brand new, you would put the gutter on first and then nail the flange down, screw the flange down on top of your ledger, your fascia board, okay? Then you would install everything. So had this gutter been like that, this thing wouldn't have ripped out, okay? But nowadays, they don't really do that. I've seen a lot of houses around where they use the flangeless ones and they install it after the roof is up, because then when they install it, they can angle it down from here, and if you want the water to go the opposite direction, they would just kind of lower this down just a little bit and screw it in. I've never done that. I've always had gutter straight, and then the water will find its direction. But son of a gun, nowadays they don't do that. So see, these screws just ripped out of their holes. Okay, I can't just lift this back up and try to put them back in the same holes. We're just not going to do that. And see, on this side, it's just slid underneath this. There's a little flange here. And so once I take these out, then this is the one I took out before. Then I'm going to have to reposition this, see if I can't take it out of that and slide this over maybe to about here, so that when I put the screws back in, they're not going to go in these same holes. You see what I mean? And it's got a big old whoopsie right there. And I'm gonna have to take that bend out of there. I'm not quite sure how to do that just yet. See how this thing's all bent? You think, my word, you're gonna fix that? Well, I'm gonna try my best to fix it. There's another little place right there. When the snow collected here, it kind of was right there, and then as it was coming down, it hit right here. That's where it ripped this thing down. See, it's just sitting here. And so once I take all these screws out, then I'll see if I can't take these out, and then I'll have to reposition them, re-drill some holes in here, and then I'm going to start from over there. If I can get those first two up nice and straight, then I can work on this this bend here, you know, and it's kind of pooched down. It's kind of pooched down right in here, and I'll have to take a block of wood or something on the inside of there, tap that up, and see if I can't get that fixed. Because the last thing I want to do is call someone and tell my wife I can't fix it. No, that would be bad. It's starting to rain now. Hey, does it look like anything was wrong with that gutter? Doesn't look like it, does it? And there's a little bump in the bottom of it, about a third over, and you probably can't even see it. Right, see, right up in there. And I don't think anybody's ever going to see it because it's dark green. There's a shadow there all the time. And so I opted not to tap that out, because there's a bump that comes down. I could have tapped it up, and what I would have done was I would have taken a little block of wood like this, put it inside the gutter on edge, and then tap that up ever so carefully. Maybe put a just put my putty knife on the bottom and then hit my putty knife on there. I could have still done that, but I opted not to do that because it's probably going to mark that up. I do have the green paint for the fascia board, but not for the actual gutter. That gutter came pre-finished, that color. Worst case scenario, if there was any marks on it, I could use the same paint, you know, on the fascia board underneath there just a little bit if I had to, but I'm not going to do anything. I'm just saying, for you to fix yours, you could do something like that, and the shadow on there would make it look darker anyways, and it would just go right away. Okay, and so this is all I used. You know, there's that little thing right there that I used, and see, on this particular one, it came with some drill bits. Look at these long ones, man. Never used one of those yet, and it had 3 of these in case you ever need them. And yeah, I used that one right there. Okay, and I was going to use some of my screws here that I always carry, but luckily I was able to put those other ones back in there. I'm going to get up there real quick. It's not really raining that bad, and show you what I did to get it fixed. Now here's what I should have done in the winter, and you need to be aware of this. Okay, the roof goes up that way, and then this roof goes the other way, and there's a valley right in here. I don't think you can see that. Oh yeah, you can see that. See up in there? Okay, well, if you get 8 to 10 inches of snow at a time, what happens is I got about 8 inches of snow, and then a couple days later another 8 inches of snow, and then at night it freezes, and then a couple days later you have that kind of melting a little bit, and then it freezes at night, and then all of a sudden it's a block of ice, and it started protruding over the edge of this, and it was dripping and icicles and all that kind of stuff. That is not the time to try to get up there and clean it off your roof, because if you do, at that point you got a sheet of ice up there. You could start trying to break it and being up there on a ladder, and the whole little area could let loose up high and push you right off the ladder. And let me tell you, I left that up there, and I couldn't do anything about it. And a few weeks later, we heard this big old crash, and a big huge piece of it came down here. I couldn't even break it up with a shovel. I had to take a big old flat bar and break it up, and it was so heavy. If that would have dropped on somebody, it would have killed them. Okay, so what I should have done, and I should be more aware of this, and that's why I'm telling you, after the first time it snowed, I should have gotten up there on a ladder and a metal rake, let's say, and rake it back about, you know, as far as I could reach, 3 feet, 4 feet or so, and then rake it down. And then had it have snowed again, I could have raked that little bit down. Then it probably would have been fine. But can you see that once it started overhanging that gutter, and it was all ice and a block of ice, and once it broke off, all it needed was just a little bit of the back of the ice to catch on the front lip on that gutter, and then it just ripped it off. Okay, I was hoping beyond hope that it would keep dripping and melting, and eventually it would all kind of melt and nothing fall down. But every once in a while you get something like that. And speaking of snow sliding off, we've got a condo down by the river, and there's a section, well, most of the roof is metal, and it was about a 2 and 12 slope, which isn't very much, out just beyond the master bedroom window, and then it slides down into a gutter. Well, it all built up, not at our condo, but one of the other adjoining condos, and the guys who were renting, it built way up, and they thought, oh, and then they let it sit there for a couple weeks, and then they got this bright idea of hooking a hose up to their sink in the kitchen, running a hose, and then they were going to hose it down, sprinkle it down, and with their idea of, hey, we'll just melt the snow. Well, they didn't melt the snow. It loosened up that whole section, and down it came, and it broke their entire deck, and all the boards, the whole thing was demolished. I don't know what happened to them. Apparently they got out of the way. They were back far enough or something, because they're okay, but You never want to do something like that. Now, had they have gotten up there, and when it's still soft, you could push it out, open up your window in the master bedroom, push it out with a long extension pole, with a paint roller cover on the end of it, or something like that, or a rake or something. You could push it off like that, you know, some of it. But once it gets built up and once it ices over at night for a couple nights, hey, leave it alone. But my loss is your gain. Next winter, I'm going to be aware of that. And guess what? Guess what I'm going to do if I get too much snow up there at any one time? Yes, I'm going to get my ladder out and I'm going to go up there and I'm going to rake some of it down so that my gutter won't rip down next time. All right, hope you just learned something. Yeah, that bumps me out about my HD video camera. I'm gonna have to get a new one because when I get it up out into the light, it hasn't been working. But anyways, it's good enough for this video. Okay, now see, I just put those screws back in there, but I took this and I tapped it over. Hard to see where the old screws were. It was about an inch over, so I tapped that over, and then this part in here just slid over. I didn't have to take it out because I didn't want to put it anywhere close to the other screw hole because that's not going to hold, right? Okay, and I lifted this up just barely higher than what it was before, and that's because it's where the end is. The water's going to flow down this way and all the way down to the gutter on the other side. Okay, it's got a long ways to go too, by the way. And remember the big bow in there? It's not that bad now, is it? I took my pliers sideways and kind of bent that up. I can see this slightly puckered there, just a hair, but not bad. Okay, and then after I slid that over, I took my scratch awl, poked a hole in there, and then put those same screws back in there. It's nice. It's nice and snug as a bug in a rug. That one was bent too. I kind of pooched that up a little bit. I couldn't do too much. I mean, hey, you can't really see that when you're down below. So I'm good with that. And see, that's where the pucker was. Can you see it? You can hardly see it at all. Okay, so that's why I've chosen to just leave it alone and be done with it. Okay, and hey, I just saved myself some money for sure. You can do that too. You don't have to be a gutter guy, a sheet metal guy, or anything like that. See, from down here, it looks fine. I can't see anything wrong with that now. I think she's going to be really happy with that, for sure. Okay, well, that's all I got for this time, but I'll be back with more videos. And by the way, this is the drill I used, and this one from Bosch. You don't necessarily have to get Bosch, but this one's been really good. And this one is the impact kind. When you drill something in and go da 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 da, you gotta get one like that. Years ago, I didn't have one like that. They didn't even have them. Then they had them, and I thought, I'll just keep using the same ones. And let me tell you, to get those screws in there, if I would have used just a regular one and not the ratcheted one, I would have had to possibly, if the screws didn't go in all the way, I would have to take the screw out and then take a drill bit and pre-drill and then put the screw back in. You know, this thing, I didn't have to do that. I just rammed them right on in there. Okay, so you've got to get one of those if you're going to be a weekend warrior, a DIY beginner. This one is the way to go. I'm telling you. The only thing I found with it, it has the end of it is well, I wasn't even gonna make any more of this video, but here, to take this out, you have to push this in, push that out, and then pull out. So see, it's got an end like that. So for drill bits, you've got to take a drill bit that has this kind of end and then the rest of the drill bit. But sometimes if you want to drill something far, your drill bit is only this long, maybe, instead of this long. You see what I mean? And because lots of times, if I have to pre-drill something for a 2.5-inch screw or something, I use my other drill where I have the chuck on there and just barely put the drill bit in the chuck, tighten it down, and then I can extend it all the way and drill all the way to here. But you can't do that when you have this in, because the other drill bits stop about right here, see? And so that's the only thing I don't like about this, that you can't do. And if you're drilling holes with a paddle bit or something, a lot of times you can't do it, or a twist drill bit or something. Lots of times you can't do it with this one, because it'll like that, and it won't drill it. And so then I would have to use my other drill for that, put it on low, and then drill away. So, you know, can this be used for everything? No. But do I use this a lot for lots of things to ram those screws in? Yes, of course I do. Okay, that's the way to go. Okay, see you next time. I had to get my video camera out one last time because I wanted to mention one more thing. Hey, when you get done, make sure you clean up. You see any mess around here? No. Remember I cleaned out that bit of gutter and everything fell down here. I've swept it all up. And as a matter of fact, most of that stuff I swept up before I started working, before I went up and down, so I didn't get mud on my feet and all that kind of stuff, and not be able to sweep it off and stuff. And I even pruned some of the old stuff, branches off of this bush right here, and swept it all up before you call it good. It doesn't even look like what was out here, okay? Make sure you clean up, all right? Make it look better than when you started. Okay, see you next time.